Good morning. I'm Pastor Art, and we've been walking through the book of Philippians. Paul writing this letter to a church that he had planted 12 years ago, probably 12 years ago. This is in the first century. And as he's writing this, probably from a Roman containment somehow, house arrest or something, he's in chains he speaks to. So as he's chained, he's speaking to this church about how to live a life, and maybe even the backdrop of when we have some of our rights diminished in some ways. And so we live in that right now. I think many of us are living in quarantine. And as Paul is speaking, he, in light of who Jesus is and things, and he's been speaking about that, he talks about shining. And we're going to look at that for the next couple of days. But I want to begin back with verse 14, 2:14, begins this way: do everything without grumbling or arguing, so that you might become blameless and pure, children of God without fault in a warped and crooked generation. Then you will shine among them like stars in the sky. Shining is going to be an image that we have that's going to be carrying us through the rest of this chapter, actually. Shining. Being bright. And that's a positive thing. I think in light of yesterday, do everything without complaining or arguing, we could safely say that those who whine do not shine, or no whining when you're shining. That idea of that this actually kind of just dampens the brightness of the one in whom we love, the one that we're aware of in that moment. And so I want to encourage us, not that we aren't authentically sad sometimes or frustrated with the things that we might be encountering, but there's a sense that we can move through that to a place of shining. And he speaks about this, and I think it has to do with identity. When he says this, because it's funny, when he says, do everything without grumbling or arguing or complaining, so that you may become blameless and pure, children of God, without fault, in this warped and crooked generation, then you will shine among them like stars in the sky. He references that we might become or are becoming children of God. Now, in my experience, young children are beautiful and so much fun, but they do whine a lot. It depends. They're trained that way. I still remember a time when my daughter was young, and we were leaving the place that we had lived in Vancouver, Canada. And as we were leaving and moving away in a very short time, we went on this tour and went around all around town to take pictures of this place that we had lived for 4 years when we lived in Canada. And our kids were very young at that time. At the time we were leaving, our daughter was 7 and our son was 4, and she was in school at that time. And it was just the very end of the year. We were graduating, and she was going to be finishing up her, I believe, first grade, at the end of first grade, into second grade. She was at almost the end of second grade. And she actually, when we were there, we were going to her school, which was also another place for us to go. It was near the college that we had gone to. She was at the school, she was playing, and she hurt her foot. And we took her to the doctor in the middle of this day, and actually it confirmed that she had broken her foot. It's like, oh, so we were planning to go home. I said, well, let's go home. And she goes, why? Why are we going home? I go, Emma, because your foot's broke. She goes, so what? And she had a walking boot. She goes, let's keep going. So her attitude, she shined that day, because the whole day they just kept playing. And kids, sometimes they whine, but sometimes they're the best at adjusting attitudes and just going with the flow, at the best at shining in the adjustments and times. And so I believe that that's the idea of children of God, means this relationship that's inseparable between us and the living God, that we might become children of God without fault and blameless in this distorted and crooked generation, which is deforming constantly. But God is transforming and changing us. So as we draw near to God and in this relationship, we begin to shine like the one who loves us. And that happens with words, it happens with expressions, it happens with attitudes, it happens with the way we conduct ourselves on Facebook and our political conversations. It happens all the places. We can shine in a way that's empowered not by some other type of source, but by this deep love of the Father that has for us. We can be children of God And we can shine and not whine as those children. And I encourage you today, whatever the situation you might find yourselves in, I want to encourage you to shine by not whining, but living into the idea that you and I are children of God right now, loved and lavished in this moment. And from that place, we can move forward with whatever adversity we might find ourselves challenged today to live through. Grace and peace. Bye for now.